And now I have the privilege and honor of, I shouldn't say introducing our next speaker, because he needs no introduction, Mr. Sonam Wangchuk, eminent environmentalist, engineer, innovator, education reformer, who is, as all of you perhaps already know, founding director of Students' Educational and Cultural Movement of Ladakh, SECMOL, and also the founding director of the Himalayan Institute of Alternatives, Ladakh. We are so grateful to you, sir, for joining us today. We know that you have just come out of a satyagraha where you are trying to bring attention of the policy community as well as the larger community which is descending on Ladakh, looking at the impact that this is having on the environment there. I will not go in detail on the accomplishments, the work that Mr. Wangchuk has done. We have his profile for you in the folders, but I would like to mention a couple of things, at least, sir, with your permission. I'll take just one minute. His work on environment and education has earned him several awards, including the Magsaysay Award in 2018, Eminent Technologist of the Himalayan Region by IIT in 2018, Indians for Collective Action Honor Award, Global Award for Sustainable Architecture, several awards even from the government, State Award for Outstanding Environmentalist by the J&K government, Governor's Medal for Educational Reform in Jammu and Kashmir, and I could go on and on. But thank you so much for joining us. Over to you. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. A very good morning or noon, and more importantly, very warm greetings from freezing cold Ladakh, which I left to come here. Thank you, and I feel very happy to be here with you discussing issues that are very important for the century and millennia. I thought there are lots of discussions around topics of climate change and various aspects of it, but sometimes they seem to become drawing room discussions of something happening very far away, and you don't get to see firsthand evidences or impacts. So I thought, why not bring a little bit of that to you, of what is happening at the far ends, the peripheries of this planet, up in the mountains and down by the seashores. That's not my region, but I'll bring you a view of what's happening in the mountains, and then not to just dissuade and make you sad about the problems, but also solutions and hope for the future, and then touching the issue of gender leadership and so on in these times of crisis. So let me take you on a picture tour of my region and then come down to solutions and hope and so on. So this is Ladakh, where I come from, top north of our country. Not exactly in the Himalayas, but across the Himalayas, because Himalayas like Kashmir and Shimla are lush and green, but when you cross it, it's a very different world altogether. When I open my window in the morning, it's more like Mars or Moon than planet Earth. This is actually a picture of the planet Mars. Just to wake you up and to give you some reference. But when I open my window in the morning, this is what I see, very close to what you saw, except for those signs of human existence here. But otherwise, it's all dry, desert-like planet in our solar system or beyond. And we are actually closest to outer space while being on planet Earth. In this case, 11,500 feet closer, which is the altitude. And you can see how it behaves like outer space with temperature swings from minus 35 in winters to plus 35 in summers. So it's a very different region altogether and has to be handled in special ways that people here understand. And if you've been following, I was, yes, on a climate satyagraha or a fast for 5 days to send this message to the powers and people. Powers meaning the Prime Minister, to safeguard these mountains of Ladakh, because they are not only important for people in Ladakh, for the rest of the 1/4 of the population of this planet depends on water from the glaciers in the Hindu Kush Himalayas. So I was trying to send this message to the people also, because it's not just government policies, but people's lifestyles in big cities like New Delhi, New York, Beijing, Paris. If we don't change our lives, things will go from bad to worse. And I'll come to that, but anyway, let me take you further. What makes this region special are these little patches of greenery you see, these oases, and I'm very proud of them, because this is what our ancestors did to this planet, like, landscape. They had no deforestation. Of course, you can see there's nothing to deforest, but what they did was, enriching nature. And there's hardly any water in this area. The annual precipitation is barely 4 inches per year. And any scientist would declare this as an uninhabitable place. Luckily, my ancestors didn't meet any. So they stayed put and made it very, very thriving. So they banked on water, fossilized water from hundreds, if not thousands of years ago, and these are called glaciers, snow accumulating in the mountains way beyond, and they trickle down when they melt in springtime, and that's then channelized through carving rocks to bring it to dry patches of sand, and then magic happens. People grow barley, wheat, peas, all kinds of alpine fresh vegetables, fruits like apricots, apples, peaches, plums, grapes, and so on. So this is what I take pride, and this is what needs to be safeguarded. Despite all these challenges, when you talk of challenges, you saw Ladakh is a capital of challenges. But I want to make it a capital of solutions also. Capital of challenges, because you all talk of this problem and that problem and shortage of this and that. We have, yes, shortage of water. Even air is in short supply. 70% of the oxygen that you might have, although Delhi is doing very well in competing with oxygen. But we can't help. That's how the air is very thin here. So despite all these challenges, people here not only survived, but a colorful civilization thrived with its own language, literature, and a lifestyle in harmony with nature. But is that now the challenges are growing. Already we have these shortages, earthquakes, and so on. And now with global warming, these glaciers that are our lifeline are melting away very fast, of course causing droughts, as you can imagine, the glaciers are going. But counterintuitively, they are punctuated by floods, flash floods every few years. So I'll like to bring home what actually is happening in this area. This is to show how many glaciers there are. In the Hindu Kush Himalayas, there are some 55,000 glaciers, which are the biggest reserve of frozen fresh water after the North and the South Pole, often called the third pole of the planet. In this very one picture frame that I took while on the aircraft, you can see 10 glaciers. And these are melting very fast. A, because of the global warming, which is something global, but also because of local human activity is what we are finding more and more. There have been researches recently by Kashmir University which shows that glaciers in the vicinity of highways are melting even faster. Now, highways are not that bad. They have their diesel trucks and so on. But imagine if places like Ladakh are open to free-for-all industry, mining, and so on, then these will be gone in no time. And that's what my climate fast was about, to secure, to safeguard Ladakh under the 6th schedule of the Constitution. Anyway, this is how these glaciers melt down and brings water to entire north of India or the Indian subcontinent, roughly 1 billion people here and 1 billion people on the other side of Tibet, on the Chinese side, depend directly or indirectly on these. But this is what is happening. This is Drangdrung Glacier in Zangskar, which I used to see as a teenager like a towering high glacier on the other side of the road. Now it's a shadow of itself. It's going very fast, and it's not going silently. You can see here what happens at the snout or the bottom end of the glacier. A whole torrent is gushing down every summer, and not silently, not peacefully. This is what is happening. I'll share a story of what I personally firsthand experienced. In 2006, there was a flash flood that washed away several homes, and few lives were lost in a village called Pyang, where we have this alternative university now. At that time, I just went as a volunteer to help the people in the village. And curious as I am, while helping them, I looked for the oldest man in the village and found some man in his late 80s and asked him, "Sir, when was the last time you have seen such a flash flood?" And the man said, "I don't remember. I have never seen but heard some stories as a child." The next one after 2006 was 2010, when roughly 1,000 lives were lost or missing, and a portion of the Leh city was washed away by a big flash flood. And the next one after 2010 was 2013, the next one was 2017. So this is how frequent it is becoming. And each of these is, yes, punctuated by a drought. Because when flash floods happen, partly because of fast melting glaciers in summer sun, partly because with climate change, it seems the monsoon clouds now rise higher. So the Himalayas are no longer a barrier to stop all of them. So clouds make it across into the region. And then when conditions meet, cloudbursts can happen. Add to that the glacial melt, you have big flash floods like this. Now, when these big rains happen, it takes away all the fines in the valleys and hills. When the fines are gone, the capacity to absorb the next rain is gone. Okay, so the next rain does not need to be that big to cause a flash flood, and therefore, my theory is the frequency of the flash floods. So this is what is happening down up there. But yeah, we want to make Ladakh a capital of solutions also. We are not sitting hand on hand. This is our little school, which we started in the 90s. And already then, we were very concerned about all the environmental issues emerging, the signs of which were occurring then. It was not in the normal discourse like it is today. We first started with how we must not contribute to this process, start with ourselves. So we started this school, which also addresses another disaster that happens every year recurrently, and that's called the 10th grade examinations in Ladakh, where 95% of the students fail because it's a very insensitive system of education that doesn't care where the textbooks are sent. Children in -30 classroom end up memorizing F for fan, F for fan. Makes no sense in such a polar climate. So just a symbol of what it is, and of course it's full of these and language inappropriate medium of instruction and so on. So 95% fail. So we created a school for those who failed, and that's why this school is known for its criteria of admission being not your marks and grades, but that you have failed in the conventional exams. Yeah. So those who have passed or done well can be on the waiting list. But more than that, we wanted to take it further and make these so-called failures, who are not failures. The system fails, and they then, doing badly in a bad system might be good, right? So we have great trust in these kids, and given the right environment, they do amazing things. So we wanted to take it further to make it a hub of solutions for Ladakh and for the planet. So we created this school with the children. It's run by the children. It's built by the students, actually hands-on. And it's built of natural materials like soil, mud, right under your feet, abundant, free. Nobody's so poor you cannot afford earth. And it's powered and heated by sun, again, free, abundant. Nobody's so poor can't afford sun. And when you get the two meet with human ingenuity, you can live happily ever after. So this was a campus that was, off-grid, zero energy, carbon neutral, when these terms were not even coined in the 1990s. And we try to find solutions to other issues facing Ladakh. So this is a solution school. When melting glaciers disturbed everybody, we said, why not create glaciers, so artificial glaciers. And the idea was to refreeze what melts, especially in winter when nobody farms, so the water melting still in winters from the glaciers trickles away into the Indus and then Arabian Sea without being of much use. So we started refreezing the the glacial melt, to keep it from January till June. Now it's ridiculous, people laughed, but we took help of high school geometry, which says if you use shapes that have low surface area and high volume, then the sun should not get enough surface area to melt it. So sure enough, when we used conical shapes, they stayed till June and melted when people needed water. So because of the conical shape, we rather than calling them ice cones, called ice stupas, because it makes direct connect to people's hearts, and innovations have to make it social connects also. So it's a blend of tradition and technology. I won't go into more details. You can look up. There are many information on internet because it's a short introduction of what we are doing. Then we started building school buildings that would be naturally warm without use of any fossil fuels, any pollution, power or power bills. So using high school physics, science to put to use like conduction, convection, radiation, bringing them to life, we created these buildings that would stay when it is minus 20 outdoors, Ladakhi winters, January, would stay at plus 18 degrees with no other heating. I can only summarize by saying in January, every time I come down to Delhi, I feel cold. Because it's plus 10 or 12 or so. So you can do even in these cold places. Of course, what you can do in warmer, more comfortable places, more resourced places, you can imagine. That's why I said it should be a symbol of hope and solutions. And if you use high school geometry of geography of where the sun is in summer and so on, you can design it in such a way that it's actually the coolest building in summers also, while being the warmest, without any moving parts, no fans, no AC, and so on. And we try keeping innovating to guide where Ladakh goes. For example, right now there is a huge discussion about gigawatts of solar power in Ladakh. If you have been following, recent parliament passed 20,700 crores for a 13 gigawatt 13,000 megawatt solar power, which is good, we believe, but people there are very concerned about what happens to the land. It's Pashmina herders who give you the most precious fiber of the world, Kashmir, will lose all their land. So 5 years ago, when this was just starting, this discussion, we started an experiment. I'll not share many pictures, to see how it can coexist while the nation gets power from this desert land, how herders can actually do better, win-win. So it turns out that actually herbs and plants and fodder, most of them don't need 100% of the sun. They are happier at 50%. So we started creating greenhouse solar photovoltaics, where half of the power is made into electricity, half the sun goes inside and gives what the plants need, and down on the ground, fodder flourishes, and up on the roof, power is generated without losing either way. So this has been a successful one, experiment of 5 kilowatt. We are doing bigger ones so that the industries that will do it are guided, so that people are not robbed of the land and there are no conflicts. Actually, both are happier. Such things we try to do, and I won't go into this, but this was the solar power that I was talking about. The solar heating bit. Buildings heated by simple conduction, convection, and radiation. Now, these technologies, to take them further, we recently, in the last few years, started an alternative university from the alternative school, where more research is done, and now we are supplying this technology to the Indian Army, which has to keep so many soldiers in freezing cold borders who are from tropical warm places. Roughly 500,000 tons of CO2 is emitted by the Indian Army in that region, which is very fragile, very dangerous in that region, where it hurts most to the ecology of the planet. And the Indian Army has embraced this technology. As I speak, some 20 prototypes of shelters on the Chinese border are where soldiers are not burning anything. And we are trying through UN agencies to see if it can be sent to the Chinese side and the Pakistani side, because A, they're also human, they feel cold and uncomfortable in winters, and B, their pollution knows no boundary which side it is. So it is everybody's pollution. So we are looking forward to decarbonizing military in that area, and it could be 2 million tons of CO2 that we'll be saving. Now, finally, to how the way forward and bringing the gender's perspective. Personally, I've always felt that, men leading countries of the world is from an era in our evolution when brute force was needed to, end conflicts brutally, from a survival period. Now we are out of that. We are at peace with ourselves. This is time of homemaking and not, brutal forcing of one another. That's when mothers are best at running things. If I had my way, I would say 50-50 is not good. It should be mostly women who should be leading the world. If they did, these Ukraine wars and all these things perhaps wouldn't have happened, because they would look at things from a motherly perspective. And when I say that, people say there are women in politics, look at how they are. And I think that is because you have a man-dominated system where manly women are pushed there, and those are not good examples. We need motherly leadership and motherly men also. I would call myself motherly, even if I am a man. It's not about gender, but it's about the approach towards building this planet. The second part that is a problem is with our democracy, we think of only 5 years. And we need to think of longer term if we are to live with our glaciers and our ecology. It doesn't work in 5 years. So to change that and to bring more women in leadership to take charge of things, again, just saying these things doesn't help. So at our school, what we did 3 years ago was start a very special course to push women into leadership, because left to themselves, in the Hill Council government of Ladakh, there are 26 members elected, and there are 26 men elected for now 25 years. So that's what happens left to themselves. So we started a special course for women's leadership so that they can be, given Philip to be in leadership positions. And if they come in large numbers, then the atmosphere of leadership may change. Then what I called motherly leadership may thrive, even in men and, of course, in women. So that kind of initiative perhaps is needed, not just in Ladakh, but also in the nation and the world. And we do hope and will try keeping this goal of giving solutions to the world. I won't go into it, but like this initiative, beautiful initiative called Lifestyles for the Environment. 4 years ago from Ladakh, we started something called I Live Simply movement, which was exactly this, so that people in the world start living simpler. You have to change the demand side. You can't only focus on the supply side, more energy, more technology, more goods. You have to reduce your desires and not just fulfill your desires. Like Buddha said, for human beings, it's a greater achievement to conquer a single desire than fulfill 1,000 desires. That should guide the way we progress on this planet. Thank you very much.
Thank you ever so much, Sonamla. We are deeply grateful and so honored to have you in our midst today. And I speak in the voice of so many young people who've grown up watching a film inspired by your life and reading so many stories of your innovation and activism in Ladakh. So it's such a blessing to have you join us today. You also really try to put into practice the spirit of intentionality towards the environment and universal responsibility, which, as you know, is a commitment. Both are commitments so close to His Holiness the Dalai Lama. And we at WISCOMP, we are an initiative of the Foundation for Universal Responsibility of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. He constantly urges us to honor the relationship and synergy between all sentient beings and the nature, and to see you embody that with so much grace and passion in your everyday life and strivings truly inspire hope and a sense of responsibility and interdependence in so many young people. So thank you very much, Sonamla, for your time and presence today. Yes, truly. And maybe offer you a box of millets.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sonamla.
Thank you, each one of you.